Welcome back to Farmyard Care, where we talk honestly about smarter farming, better garden living, and building real abundance right at home. If you are the kind of person who keeps one eye on the feed bill, one eye on the egg basket, and dreams of making a backyard, a garden shed, or a small homestead work harder for your family, then today's video is for you. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever put your time, your effort, and your money into traditional poultry, only to realize that the costs keep climbing while the returns stay frustratingly low? That is a lesson many growers and keepers learn the hard way. But what if the answer is not working harder with bigger birds? What if the better answer is choosing a smaller bird with far greater efficiency? What if one tiny quail could give you more than 300 eggs a year while eating less than an ounce of feed a day? That sounds almost too good to be true. But the farmers who understand this are already quietly turning that efficiency into steady profit. Meanwhile, many others are still focused on birds that need more space, more feed, and more patience before they begin to pay them back. So today we are shifting our attention to one of the most practical and fast-growing opportunities in modern small-scale farming: quail. And let me tell you from experience, success in farming does not begin with luck. It begins with choosing wisely from the start. The breed you raise will shape your costs, your production, and your profit. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 3 most profitable quail breeds for egg production. And I want you to stay with me all the way to the end, because the third breed is one that far too many people overlook, even though it can bring in the highest profit per egg. So before we begin, ask yourself this: are you farming just to stay busy? Or are you farming to build something sustainable for the years ahead? Subscribe to Farmyard Care, and let's get into it. Section 1, the quail revolution. Why chickens are no longer the only answer. Before we get into the top 3 breeds, we need to step back and look at the bigger picture, because once you understand that, the rest of this video makes perfect sense. Why are so many successful homesteaders, backyard keepers, and even commercial farmers starting to shift their attention away from chickens and toward quail? The answer comes down to one simple truth: biological efficiency and speed. Just think about the timeline of a standard laying chicken. In most cases, you are waiting 18 to 20 weeks before that bird begins to produce. That means up to 5 long months of paying for feed, housing, labor, and daily care before you see a single egg in return. For many small farmers, that is where profit starts slipping away. Quail change that equation in a big way. Most laying quail reach sexual maturity in just 6 to 8 weeks. In other words, in less than 2 months from hatch day, you could already be collecting a full carton of fresh eggs. If you are trying to manage a tight budget and make your feed dollars work harder, that shorter timeline is not just convenient, it is a serious financial advantage. And there is another reason quail have become such a smart option. You do not need a large pasture or a big, expensive setup to succeed with them. Quail do very well in a space that is clean, dry, secure, and well ventilated. I have seen productive flocks raised in converted kennels, small shed systems, and even carefully arranged corners of garages. That makes them especially attractive for people who are working with limited land but still want a steady, profitable source of farm income. Now add market demand to the picture, and you start to see why this shift is happening so quickly. The global quail egg market was valued at $1.8 billion in 2025, and it is projected to reach $3.1 billion by 2034, growing at a compound annual growth rate of 6.2%. That kind of growth does not happen by accident. Consumers are paying attention because quail eggs are increasingly seen as a nutrient-dense food. They contain around 13% more protein per gram than chicken eggs and provide valuable vitamins like A, B1, B2, and D, along with important minerals such as iron and calcium. Little by little, more people are discovering what quail can offer, and that is exactly why this small bird is creating such a big opportunity. And with that foundation in place, let's move into the first breed on our list. Because if your goal is maximum egg volume, this bird sets the standard. Section 2, variety number 1, the Japanese quail, the undisputed volume champion. The first bird on our list is the true volume champion of egg production, the Japanese quail. Scientifically known as Coturnix japonica, this breed has been delivering dependable income for small farmers across Asia, Europe, and the United States for well over 100 years. One of the biggest reasons it remains so valuable is its genetic stability. The Japanese quail is considered a base breed, which means its genetics are well established and its offspring consistently carry the same productive traits as the parent stock. For a farmer, that matters a great deal because it means you can build and maintain your own breeding flock over time without constantly buying new birds from outside sources. That kind of self-sufficiency is a major advantage. When we talk about production, the Japanese quail earns its reputation very quickly. Under good management, hens begin laying at only 6 to 8 weeks of age. At peak production, a healthy female can lay between 280 and 300 eggs per year. Those numbers may sound small until you scale them up. Just 20 hens can produce nearly 6,000 eggs in a single year. At a local farmer's market, where quail eggs often sell for $4 to $6 per dozen, that small flock can bring in roughly $2,000 a year while taking up less space than most people would use for a storage shelf or closet. That is the kind of efficiency that gets a grower's attention. And the eggs themselves have a strong selling point beyond production numbers. Japanese quail eggs are beautiful to look at, with light brown shells covered in dark brown and black speckles. That natural pattern gives them a handcrafted, distinctive appearance that stands out immediately beside ordinary chicken eggs. Customers notice that. Buyers remember that. And in direct-to-consumer markets, visual appeal often helps close the sale. Another reason this breed performs so well is that breeders have largely reduced the brooding instinct over time. Instead of stopping to sit and brood, these birds continue laying more consistently throughout the year. That means more of your feed goes directly into egg output, with fewer interruptions and fewer frustrating pauses in production. So if your main goal is to produce the highest possible number of eggs from a compact, efficient flock, the Japanese quail is one of the strongest partners you could ask for. Section 3, variety number 2, the Texas A&M Quail, the dual income machine. Now let's move to our second breed because this one brings a very different strategy to the farm. If the Japanese quail is all about pure egg numbers, the Texas A&M Quail is all about flexibility. This is the dual income machine, and for many farmers, that makes it one of the smartest birds they can raise. The Texas A&M Quail was developed with a very specific goal in mind by Texas A&M University, to create a bird that could perform well as a dependable layer while also offering real value as a meat bird. That dual-purpose design is what sets it apart from many other commercial laying strains. Instead of forcing you to rely on a single stream of income, this breed gives you options. And in farming, options are often what keep a business stable. Physically, the Texas A&M looks quite different from the speckled Japanese quail. It carries pure white plumage and light-colored skin, and that is more than just a visual trait. In commercial processing, white feathers are a real advantage because they do not leave behind the dark pigment marks or ink spots that can show up in the feather follicles of darker birds. The result is a cleaner, more attractive carcass, and that matters when you are trying to sell meat into a quality-conscious market. Like the Japanese quail, this breed also begins laying at around 6 to 8 weeks, so it still gives you a quick return. But the big difference is body size. A standard Japanese quail female usually weighs between 5.3 and 6.3 ounces, while a Texas A&M female can reach a much heavier 8.8 to 10.6 ounces. That larger frame helps produce a noticeably bigger egg, typically in the 13 to 15 gram range. Even with that size advantage, annual egg production remains very strong, often landing between 280 and 300 eggs per year. Their eggs also stand out with a solid white shell, giving them a clean, uniform look that appeals strongly to wholesale buyers in upscale restaurants. But the true strength of the Texas A&M Quail is not found in any one number. It is found in how many ways this bird can make itself useful. Once a hen begins to slow down after 12 to 18 months of laying, she can still provide value as a high-quality meat bird. That means the same housing, the same feed system, and the same daily care can support two different revenue streams. If egg prices dip, meat sales can help balance the books. If meat demand softens, your egg production still keeps money moving through the farm. For a grower who wants resilience as much as profit, the Texas A&M Quail is a powerful choice. And that brings us to the third breed on our list, a bird that plays a completely different game and often wins by being something the market cannot easily forget. Section 4. Variety number 3, the Manchurian Golden Quail, the premium artisan. Now we come to the third breed, and this is where the conversation gets especially interesting. The Manchurian Golden Quail is the kind of bird many farmers overlook because they are too focused on volume alone. But that is exactly why the people who raise it well are often earning the highest profit per egg. This bird does not dominate by sheer output. It succeeds by standing out in premium markets where appearance, quality, and presentation matter just as much as production. The first thing people notice about the Manchurian Golden is its beautiful plumage. With rich golden or cinnamon-colored feathers, it has a look that immediately separates it from more common commercial lines. That color comes from a specific genetic mutation that breeders have carefully stabilized over time, and the result is a bird that feels special before it even lays its first egg. And in direct-to-consumer farming, that matters, because customers do not just buy food, they buy story, beauty, and experience. In terms of production, the Manchurian Golden lays a little less than the top volume breeds, usually between 250 and 280 eggs per year. But what it may give up in raw quantity, it makes up for in quality. Research has shown that this breed produces eggs with shells that are about 4.6% stronger than those of other commercial lines. That may sound like a small detail, but in farm business, small details often protect the biggest margins. Stronger shells mean fewer eggs cracked during collection, storage, and transport. And fewer broken eggs mean more of your product actually reaches the customer in sellable condition. On top of that, this breed produces a very low percentage of non-standard or culled eggs, recorded at just 1.97%, which is another quiet but important boost to profitability. The eggs themselves have excellent market appeal. They range from light cream to warm brown and carry a naturally speckled pattern that gives them a handcrafted, artisan look. In premium settings like upscale restaurants, specialty farm stands, and direct-to-consumer sales, that visual character helps them command top-tier prices. It is not unusual to see these eggs selling for $4 to $8 per dozen, especially when they are marketed well and backed by a strong farm story. Another reason farmers appreciate this breed is temperament. The Manchurian Golden is widely known as one of the calmest and most docile of the three varieties. And that is not just a comfort issue for the keeper. A calm flock is typically a lower stress flock, and lower stress birds tend to stay healthier and lay more consistently over time. So if your goal is not just to produce eggs, but to build a memorable farm brand around beauty, quality, and premium value, the Manchurian Golden Quail may be the exact bird you have been looking for. Section 5. Decoding the economics and the feed-to-profit ratio. Now, before we move any further, we need to stop and talk about the part of farming that quietly decides whether you make money or lose it, and that is feed economics. A lot of people watch egg numbers closely, but the wiser question is this: are you watching your inputs as carefully as your output? Because on most farms, feed is not a small expense. In a commercial setting, it usually makes up about 60 to 65% of total production costs. That is exactly why feed conversion ratio, or FCR, matters so much. If you want a profitable quail operation, this is one of the main numbers you need to understand and improve. A strong target is around 2.2 kilograms of feed for every kilogram of egg mass produced. And this is where quail becomes so attractive from a business standpoint. A laying quail eats very little. Depending on the breed and management style, most birds need only around 0.7 to 1.05 ounces of high-protein feed per day. When you break that down across a flock, the savings become very clear. In practical terms, feeding 20 quail can cost about the same per month as feeding only 3 or 4 standard chickens. That difference alone can completely change the economics of a small farm. For those of you thinking beyond a backyard setup and into real commercial growth, this becomes even more interesting. On a larger scale, if you want to cover overhead, operating costs, and owner salaries, you may need a minimum sustainable annual revenue of around $246,326. So how do you move toward numbers like that? You do it by managing your product mix wisely. For example, if you process birds into premium, semi-boneless meat instead of selling only whole fresh quail, that product can reach prices of up to $2,200 per unit volume, compared with around $1,200 for whole birds. That is an 83% increase in revenue simply by adding value before the sale. And the good news is that quail farming does not require a huge barrier to entry. For beginners, a small 500-bird farm can often be started for as little as $1,000 to $2,500. That makes this one of the more accessible livestock businesses for people who want to begin small, learn fast, and scale with intention. The numbers can work in your favor, but only if you stay disciplined with feed, flock management, and the way you market what you produce. And of course, even the best numbers on paper mean very little if your birds are not raised in the right environment. So let's talk about the conditions that turn good genetics into real performance. Section 6, setting the stage. Incubation, housing, and the magic of light. No matter how productive a breed may be on paper, it will never reach its potential without the right setup. Good genetics are important, but environment is what unlocks them. So if you want peak performance from your flock, you have to get the basics right from the very beginning. If you plan to hatch your own replacement layers, one of the first advantages you will notice with Japanese quail is just how fast the incubation period is. These eggs usually hatch in only 16 to 18 days, which keeps your production cycle moving quickly. In a forced air incubator, the temperature should be held at a precise 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity matters just as much. During the first 13 days, you want it around 45 to 55%. And then during the final lockdown phase, it should be raised to 65 to 70%, so the chicks can hatch cleanly and safely without sticking to the shell. Once your birds begin laying, lighting becomes one of the most powerful tools you have. Quail are highly photosensitive, and if you want steady egg production throughout the year, they need a controlled photo period of around 14 to 18 hours of light each day. And here is where things get even more interesting. Research has shown that red LED lighting, especially around the 630 nanometer wavelength, can be one of the most profitable lighting choices. Red light penetrates more effectively and stimulates the bird's reproductive system by helping trigger hormone release through the hypothalamus. In flocks managed under red LED lighting, hen day production has reached 71.91%, along with better feed efficiency and earlier maturity. Temperature matters too. Quail perform best when kept comfortable, ideally between 22 and 24 degrees Celsius. And while quail are hardy birds, never make the mistake of ignoring biosecurity. In high-density systems, disease can spread fast, especially problems like Newcastle disease and ulcerative enteritis caused by Clostridium caninum. Left unchecked, that infection can lead to devastating losses, even total mortality. That is why dry litter, clean housing, and proper ventilation are not optional details. They are the foundation of a healthy flock and a profitable farm. And once your birds are producing well, the next question becomes just as important as how you raise them. How do you sell every egg you produce? Section 7, Market Mastery. How to sell every single egg you produce. Now, let's talk about the part that turns good production into a real business, because gathering eggs is only half the job. Selling them well is where the real money is made. So the question becomes simple. How do you make sure every egg you produce actually finds a buyer? The good news is that the quail egg market is expanding across several strong sales channels at once. Supermarkets still hold the largest share, currently sitting at 41.2%, but the fastest growing channel is online distribution, which is projected to grow at 9.3% through 2034. That matters because more customers now want convenience, and direct-to-door farm subscriptions fit perfectly into that shift. People are no longer buying only from store shelves. They are buying directly from farms they trust. You also need to pay attention to the health and wellness market because this is one of the strongest drivers behind rising demand. Fitness-minded buyers and clean-eating communities are actively looking for foods that offer dense nutrition, and quail eggs fit that profile very well with their protein, vitamin B12, and selenium content. But the opportunity does not stop there. In the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical sectors, freeze-dried quail egg powder has become a valuable product. The ovomucoid proteins found in quail eggs have been clinically shown to reduce allergy symptom severity by 42 to 58%, which is why they are increasingly used in natural supplements for asthma and rhinitis support. And then there is the gourmet market, which many small farmers should never ignore. Upscale sushi restaurants, fine dining kitchens, and artisan caterers are often willing to pay premium prices for quail eggs because of their delicate flavor and eye-catching appearance. This is why smart growers do not rely on just one sales outlet. When you combine local farmers markets, chef partnerships, and e-commerce with a strong farm story, you create a business that is more stable, more resilient, and far more profitable over time. And once you understand both production and sales, the path forward becomes much clearer. Conclusion. So there you have it. Building a profitable quail farm does not begin with luck. It begins with choosing the right bird for the kind of farm you want to build. The Japanese quail stands out for unmatched egg volume, excellent feed efficiency, and dependable production. The Texas A&M Quail gives you the advantage of flexibility, offering both strong egg output and a valuable meat carcass. And the Manchurian Golden Quail opens the door to premium artisan markets, where beauty, shell strength, and presentation can earn you the highest price per egg. In fact, many experienced farmers choose not to rely on just one breed at all. They build mixed flocks of all three so they can serve wholesale buyers, meat customers, and direct-to-consumer premium markets at the same time. That kind of strategy can create a steadier and more diversified monthly income. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these three quail breeds fits your farm vision best? Which one makes the most sense for your space, your goals, and the future you want to build for your family? Let me know down in the comments because I always enjoy hearing what this community is planning and growing. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Farmyard Care so you do not miss our upcoming videos on farm management, housing systems, and livestock success. Thank you so much for watching. Keep growing, keep learning, and I will see you next time right here on the farm.